are extremely satisfied with the testimony given by our General Secretary today. In fact, nothing that he has said undermines our case. Indeed, everything he said goes to points to the fact that we are entitled to the declarations that we are seeking. But several interesting things stood out today. Let me start with the video. The video that they sought to show to try and dent the credibility of the General Secretary didn't happen as they thought it would. In the end, his credibility rather soared. If you watch the video, and I'm sure you all watched it, it is clear from the video that he never said at any point in time that the petitioner had won the elections. In fact, what he did were projections, and rightly so. He stated that based on the 141 parliamentary seats that we had won, the projection was that we would win the presidential slot as well. Those were projections he made. And so they were unable to show from the video that the general said what it is they were trying to prove. So of course they flopped in that regard. The other thing that came out clearly was that there were ever-changing figures from the general's testimony. Now, from their own cross-examination, they describe these ever-changing figures as manifestly erroneous. We had the 9th December figures of 13,434,574, 10th December 13,119,460. Then in their paragraph 24 of their answer, that's the first respondent's answer, she talks about 13,121,111. Yet again, today, there were corrections made. And we saw that from the cross-examination on Techiman South. On the face of that, their own exhibit, it showed 97,227. But when they did the tally or the collation, it was 99,436. So when we make the point that based on their own declarations, that's the EC's own declarations, there are errors, we are right. And it has been proven by the cross-examination that they conducted that we do not know what the figures are. Based on her own declaration, nobody got more than 50%. And the declaration I'm talking about is the 9th of December declaration. Also important is the issue of padding. They cross-examined the general on the issue of padding. And you can sense from the cross-examination that they admit that there was padding. What they tried to portray was that on a pen drive, there was an indication that there was also padding in favor of the NDC. Now, if they admit that there was padding, then obviously we are dealing with a very flawed election. That is the point, and they admit it. It's a clear admission of a flawed election. And he also made the point that what we attached in terms of padding were only samples. Only samples. So you can't take a sample and deduct it from a whole or an absolute number and get any results, because that sample is simply what it is, a sample. In the end, there were also questions from the bench about our own figures. But I think we need to make it clear, and it's been made clear over and over again. We are here challenging the EC on its own figures. Its own figures. What are those figures? There's the 9th of December, there's the 10th of December so-called correction, and there's also the figure in their paragraph 24. And then today we realize that even in some of the constituencies, and they themselves brought out the example, Techiman South, there are errors. So if you ask us, what are our own figures? How are we going to get our own figures based on all these flawed sheets and different figures? And so we stand by what we are saying, that based on her own declaration, nobody got more than 50%. So today we are happy with the cross-examination of the general. We are happy with the results, and we think that our case was made clearly in the court today. Having regard to the case we have even brought to the court, I don't even think it's necessary. They themselves have different contradicting figures. Why do you need another one from us? They are different contradicting figures. And that is the point we are making, that the EC themselves, what are the figures? The information on the pen drive was printed for the general. It was printed for him, so he saw the hard copy. He didn't actually see the pen drive. And from what I could see on the screen, they were actually reading from the names of the folders, which he would not have. He would have the printed document, because of interest to him was the information on in the document, and not the names of the folders. So that is how it is explained that way. It's not to say he didn't know what was in the folders, but what they read was based on the names of the folders. Well, that is the choice that we made, that we will challenge the declaration of December 9. That is the choice that we made. We brought samples to show how flawed the election was, but our choice was to challenge the very declaration of December 9.